Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very special Ermagerdzerker special that revolves around last
It's also special.
Remember that it was special. It revolves around last night's HeForShe event, which we managed to watch for most of it. It was there were lots of lulls to be had, but we're gonna try to hold back the keks and just sort of look at
Praise kek.
and just sort of look at the specific speeches. We're just going to start with Emma Watson and see how far we get. So, thank you guys.
Yeah, because we have Karen here watching with us, so it's probably going to be like if we can't go through the full 2 hours, there's no way. So we'll just start with Emma Watson, and if we manage to get through Emma Watson within a reasonable length of time, then we might go to another one, which we won't announce until we do it. But, you know, some people have also requested us doing a couch zerker of this, of the entire thing of this, but that would require a couch. And we don't have a couch yet. We have a badger cave, but no couch.
It would also require more time and patience than I have. Can you imagine a 2-hour thing where you have to banana every 20 seconds?
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't need to.
No, we don't do the banana with the couch zerking.
Yeah, we would just show the parts that are.
Oh shit! Oh my god, Mike isn't on. Ah.
No. This is enough. We got 4.
Yeah,
Mike,
yeah, you're right.
Mike, you can shit post on our behalf.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Feel free
So,
to
Mike, just say Heil Hitler in the chat and
Heil Kek.
yeah.
Heil Kek.
Yeah.
Kek is our new great dark overlord. He's worse than Hitler, Karen.
He's worse than Cthulhu.
He's worse than Cthulhu. He's worse than the dark elder gods, all of them combined, and Hitler and Stalin and anything else you can imagine that's horrible.
And his name is Top Cat.
Okay, all right.
I never trusted frogs,
Let's
but that might be an Ontarian thing. Oh, sorry. Go on.
let's get started right into the thing. You guys you're gonna love this if you haven't seen it already. Yes, he's the official shit poster today. Let's do it.
Gosh. I'm so overwhelmed. Thank you.
Karen, you're gonna have to mute. We're getting feedback.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to freaking get my. Oh my god! So many screens.
Jesus
To
Christ.
everyone that has shared their story tonight and has contributed to what has been the most heartwarming moment of my year.
Okay, can I just say something?
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed. I'm actually sort of. No, you know what? I'm not even amazed about it. I don't know what to call it. I'm just like, because you immediately identified who the issue was with Karen. I guess it's because of the precedent.
No, because on the screen when the echo kicked in, Karen's icon popped up on the Google Hangouts. I'm looking.
No, I prefer to just think that Karen is always the fly in the ointment.
I'm always the problem, guys. Just assume that, and 90% of the time you'll be right.
Yeah. You know, unbeknownst to you guys watching in the audience, periodically Karen just sort of apparates into where we are and then rubs her junk in our face and then apparates away. Just because that's what she's just like that.
I like to wag my dick. What can I say?
Can I be an official badger now? Because I didn't know that was a perk. I don't know.
I will wag my dick in your face anytime you like, honey.
Oh,
It's not a bug.
nice.
It's a feature.
Well, yeah, I guess you have to become a badger bunny.
Yeah, a bunger.
A bunger. Okay.
That's what I've been using.
You don't
Bunger.
really have to be a badger to be
a badger.
No, she needs to just put the badger mask on her bunny icon.
I agree. Although I love the avatar that you guys have. It's so good.
Yeah,
But I
you know, like you bring more class to the joint. So
Oh no! Oh no!
you're like the Doge. You just give a touch of class for us burrowing dirt covered.
I'll take
I
that.
don't know.
Rape apologists. Yeah.
Rape apologists, vandals. Oh yeah, let's.
Honestly, rape is one of Canada's biggest cash crops, and I support it.
There you go. Karen is a supporter of rape.
That's a real rape culture.
Yeah.
Culturing rape.
Otherwise known as canola.
I know, yeah.
Somebody said to me, I can understand why they changed the name of it to canola because nobody wants rape oil on their pantry shelves. And I said to them, well, you know, when you come to think of it, if you're going to get raped, you're going to want some lube on hand. You might want some rape oil in the pantry, just in case of emergency. And they're like, you know, you're right.
Oh, the soap jokes flow, you know, because originally soap used with palm oil, right? So now we've gone from masturbation to rape.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit of a nerd that way.
Speaking of masturbation and rape, shall we continue with Emma Watson?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh God, nice.
Emma Watson.
That is not a rape joke.
Good evening.
She still sounds like she's about to cry.
Being a part of HeForShe for the last 2 years has been an incredible learning experience for me.
I'm sure it has. I'm sure it has. Because you know what? I think it was in June after she launched it. It was in June, late June, that she changed the wording of the pledge on the website to not specifically single out, I pledge to, you know, stop sexism and violence against women and girls, but made it gender neutral. So I'm sure it was a bit of a learning experience for her because they had to actually change the wording of their pledge to not be completely fucking sexist. Yes.
But they are still completely fucking sexist and also completely pointless because how do you save women from needing to be saved? How do you do this, Emma? How do you do it? How? Your entire movement is a completely pointless solipsism. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Solipsism.
Solipsism.
Not being a pedantic cunt, but somebody in the comments is going to say solipsism.
Allison, we've just learned to love how you mispronounce the words.
I love voluptuous. I started using it in like real life. Voluptuous is the best word ever. That's the best word ever.
After my third kid, who was
just pile it on.
Destroyed my body. Yeah, I'm now voluptuous.
Are you okay, Karen? Your voice. Are you sick or have allergies?
No, I just had a sneezing fit just before I came.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she's also still recovering from Ottawa, apparently.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I understand.
Lucky I've been here. Like, honestly, I just literally anybody who speaks to me, I just want to strangle them and stab them in the face, and then just like go hide in a cave somewhere.
That was not your style.
Is that not every day?
No, no. I mean, like, normally I like people, but, you know, you have sort of a period of 5 or 6 days where you're inundated with people who all want to talk to you. And I tend to need some time to recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I actually have audio from Hannah, Mike, Brian, and a couple others. I think Scott, not Max, yesterday responding to this, because we did actually watch most of it yesterday, in the privacy of the patron lounge, and it was interesting.
Patriarchy lounge.
The patriarchy, of course, the patriarchy lounge. Oh, you know that occurs. When is Patreon going to get a bitch slap for calling it Patreon rather than Matreon? Oh,
I'm sure that there's an article on Everyday Feminism or XO Jane somewhere.
Okay,
that talks
expect
about
it. The people behind expect the Femquisition Patreon.
Feminists never forgive; they never forget.
No, they never do. And you think that you're social justice warriors, Patreon people? You'll find out when the hot poker of feminism gets shoved up your parts.
Junk.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, bring on the trauma caused by being called bossy when she was 10.
Shall we get on with Emma Shoulders Watson? Those shoulders, man. All right.
There's some really hard moments, and a lot of amazing ones I never could have imagined. The UN Secretary General, the entire EU Commission, the NATO Secretary General, the President of the International Olympic Committee, numerous heads of state and politicians from around the world, including those that you've heard from tonight, and everyone from Usain Bolt to Tom Hanks, and now all HeForShe.
Oh yeah, so and yet you are a grassroots movement, okay, of underdogs fighting for the oppressed. You are not the establishment, Emma Watson. You are not and you do not have influence on the political system. No. Because, you know, every time I call feminists out on their previous bad acts, right? Like, I don't know, gendering federal domestic violence legislation in the U.S. or you know, bringing about the tender years doctrine and promoting it and upholding it and resisting any change to that and all of those things. Whenever I imply even just a little bit that feminism has any kind of institutional power, what I hear from feminists is, I only wish we had that kind of power. We're just a bunch of girls. What are you afraid of, a bunch of girls? We can't actually do anything. We don't have any real power. We're just a grassroots movement. We don't, and implying that we have any power in the halls of power or politics, any influence in the media, right? Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory.
Okay, can I point something out? Just judging from her speech and everything else that happened at this streamed HeForShe event, apparently feminism is supported by the 1%. That makes it grassroots.
It's supported by the patriarchy. Yes.
The people who you could legitimately say are in charge of society support feminism. Therefore, it's grassroots. It's the underdog. It's how much contradiction can you shove into one skull? And I'm going to point something out here. I know, Bunny, you seem to be raring to
No,
go.
I'm laughing. It's good.
Okay, all right. I'm going to point something out here. It took, and it was amazing. But don't get me wrong. Getting 54K to build a space that will eventually turn into, you know, some form of service for men, or building a community that can create services for men. 54K. How much do you think this event cost? This singular event. I would be surprised if it was less than $1 million. In fact, I bet her accommodations in whatever 27 billion star hotel that she refuses to be put up in anything less probably cost 54K for the entirety of the event. Think about that. Look, think about the fucking hose of money that these people get. And then they have the fucking audacity to turn around and say, we're the underdogs because we're the ones who are piggybacking on the rhetoric that governments have used throughout all of human history to get men to run into bullets or swords. You know, this is, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, you can have your billions of goddamn slush money, Emma Watson, but you cannot have an underdog status.
Yeah, you don't get the moral high ground.
You don't get a moral high ground. You don't get the
Exactly.
underground status, the underdog status. You don't get the grassroots movement label until you have fucking gone through 3 fucking weeks of government red tape for a goddamn office space that probably costs as much as it takes to flush your goddamn toilet with goddamn champagne. For a fucking, to run your fucking gold fucking champagne running fucking toilet. For a week. Emma Watson, you are not part of any kind of grassroots movement. You are not part of any kind of underdog establishment. You are the fucking handmaiden to the 1% that owns the goddamn earth. Congratulations. Now go flush your fucking speech down your goddamn fucking champagne spewing goddamn boudet.
Allison, may I address your point?
Yes.
May I? Okay, thank you. I would just like to say, standing here in my HeForShe dress and Manolo Blahnik shoes, with my millions of pounds of bank account, I truly understand the plight of women now, especially since I have the backing of the UN. Like, really? Really?
Yeah.
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 You really understand, yeah?
Because
This is the thing that drove Naomi Wolf crazy. It actually really made her angry when I was sitting on that panel with her, and she said, "I don't know what universe you're living in, but among my friends, no woman would be able to get away with denying her ex-husband access to the children." Yeah, and I said, "But you're wealthy, right?" And I was going to elaborate. and your exes are wealthy, and therefore they have the disposable income in order to challenge any, you know, threat to their access to the kids over and over again in a court of law. They have disposable cash to be able to do that. So women in your circles don't mess with their exes' access because, you know, their exes have the financial means to fight that, right? But she wouldn't even let me get that out. She was like, I am not wealthy. Absolutely, you don't know anything about my... She's worth $3 million, and I'm sorry, but maybe, just maybe, in the circles that she moves in, there's a different definition of wealthy than would apply to a waitress who was married to a fucking short order cook. Just maybe, right? And the 80 to 90% of us who don't have careers, right? We have jobs, right? And we have problems. We don't want to work outside the home more hours because we're fucking making sandwiches at Tim Hortons and pouring coffee and things like that. We're not like, it's not an exciting fucking wonderful way of living. It's not fulfilling to us. It's just filling a fucking role and collecting a fucking paycheck and meeting your fucking bills. That's what the reality is for the majority of women and men out there. And she's completely detached from this. So is the UN. So is any fucking politician other than maybe Gary Johnson in the US, Chuck Cadman in Canada before he died. You know, this is, they don't live this life that the rest of us live. They have no fucking idea what it's like to search in your couch cushions for milk money so your kids can have fucking milk on their cereal instead of eating it dry. They don't have any fucking clue what that's like, right? And until they fucking do, they don't get to speak for me.
And she, but they will. Like, Emma Watson will call down from her gold-encrusted, jeweled litter carried by the backs of men, paid for by the 1% of men supporting her, and she will look down at us and she will say, oh, you're the ones who are getting patriarchal privilege by betraying your fellow sisters.
Well, she's not just riding in that litter being carried on the backs of men. She's being carried on the backs of regular women like me who do not see our husbands as the enemy who oppresses us, who do not see marriage as slavery, who do not see all of these things the way women with pots and pots of fucking money see these things, right? The women on the ground are saying, you know, I don't want to be up in a cherry picker in 40 below weather fixing the power lines like my husband is. I'd much rather be home subjugated and chained to my fucking stove, because you know what? That's actually an easier life than he has. He doesn't live a glamorous life of privilege. He's the one who allows me to be home with my kids as much as possible, maybe only just work part-time, right? Allows me to do that so that, you know, I don't have to fucking go out and work cleaning her fucking golden toilet after she's splattered diarrhea all over the bowl, right? I don't have to do that in order to make my bills because I have a husband who's willing to fucking go to bat for me and do what it takes. And I don't see him as my enemy. I don't see him as my oppressor, right? And it's only when you get up into these upper spheres of power where all of a sudden you have this rhetoric of divisiveness in terms of the partnership between men and women, and this, you know, men are oppressing you and holding you down and keeping you from being all you can be. Yeah, no, that's not the way most women see it, because most women don't get to wear a Givenchy dress and Manolo Blahnik shoes to a fucking $1 million event. They don't.
Yeah, it's just
exactly.
It's fucking remarkable. Like, okay, this is the end. You know, August was basically the anniversary, the 3-year anniversary of Honey Badger Radio. It's a group of women, for the most part, founded by a group of women. Well, you know, I guess founded by me, and Karen was along for the ride, and Hannah, to talk about men's issues and bring awareness of men's issues. 3rd-year anniversary, and just on our 3rd year, we get to get, you know, it's not a a shoddy space by any stretch of the imagination.
But it's not like the SPLC's two poverty palaces in Montgomery, is it?
Yeah, no, it's a modest office space. We have managed to scrape together enough to get a modest office space for a growing endeavor. She, on the 2nd year of anniversary of HeForShe, is emceeing or mistress of ceremony probably what is there's no way this is under like $1 million. It probably is more like 5 million, if not. She's emceeing a $5 million event where the elite of the world are rubbing elbows and sucking champagne and probably going home and screwing some sort of underage Thai sex prostitute, male or female. You know, and this is feminism. This is feminism. 2 years after this initiative is started, she's got the 1% elite of all men, the patriarchy as defined by feminism, at her event, funding her event to the tune of millions of dollars, where they all the wealthy, well-to-do get to rub elbows, suck caviar, and say that they're doing a goddamn thing for women, or men, or whatever, and that they actually think that they're doing a damn thing for anyone, which they are not. They're just throwing a goddamn party for their own munificence.
What frustrates me about this too is that,
and we are the ones who are riding the gravy train of patriarchy and privilege.
What frustrates me too is that anybody who actually looks at what life is like for people who are under or at or just over the poverty line will realize that life for those people is so much easier if you have solid partnerships between men and women. And that includes not just the women and the children, but the men as well, right? That life becomes easier. The path to prosperity for low and middle income people is strong family units, strong nuclear families. That is what it is, right? And all her movement has done has been to, from the very beginning, has been to undermine the relationship between men and women, sow seeds of distrust and animosity and resentment between men and women, make the deal so toxic for men that no man with 2 brain cells to rub together would ever fucking get married, right? Ever, and you're undermining the fabric of the most marginalized classes of society. You're essentially further marginalizing those who are most vulnerable, right? Who are the poor, the low income, low middle income, right? All of those people who would do better if they were pairing up and working together as a team. Yeah, no, you've set up the system so that no man in his right mind would ever team up with a woman, ever. Because all it is when it ends, he's going to be financially destroyed, right? So, yeah, that's what you've done. Thanks, Emma Watson. You've empowered wealthy women, right? You've given wealthy men something to virtue signal over, and you've completely fucked over all of the most marginalized people in society. Brava!
Brava. Shall we? We're 1 minute in.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Go.
We've crashed the UN website on multiple occasions. Sorry about that.
It's okay, Emma. It's not like the UN is doing anything anyway.
Humble
We have
brag.
lit up.
I wonder if some of those crashes were people who were logging in to express their disgust.
Possibly.
I actually haven't heard a lot of outright clear criticism of HeForShe, which shocks me because I view it as a fundamentally manipulative and vile movement myself. And I know I can't be alone somewhere out there, but I'm not.
There was lots of criticism of HeForShe.
Was it really pushed and publicized, or was it silenced?
Well, no, it wasn't mainstream criticism, but there was a lot of sort of YouTube and Reddit.
Oh, okay.
and all of that. And, you know, you get enough of those people flooding over to the website to express their disgust, you might actually have a crash or two happening. So, you know, it just because it wasn't actually publicized in the mainstream, just because there was a backlash over it. There was enough of a backlash that they had to change the wording of their pledge.
Well, thank God. I have hope for humanity.
Okay.
I don't, but
I still do. Vaguely.
Moving on.
State building, seen HeForShe in Times Square, and made it a term in the Urban Dictionary. After 2 billion media impressions.
Wait, so getting into the Urban Dictionary is that an achievement? Is that really like a marker of success? It's in the Urban Dictionary, guys. The real dictionary is right around the corner.
the Urban Dictionary, like with such entries as the rusty trombone, the rusty fishhook.
Yeah, and thought.
Yeah.
I think
yeah, excellent.
I think bruh got
That's
in there.
Cleveland steamer.
Yeah.
Alligator fuck house, the Cincinnati bow tie, Arabian
Donkey
goggles,
punching,
Glass bottom boat ride.
Angry pirates.
donkey punching.
Oh my god, we could do this all day.
We should probably get
Yeah.
going. All right.
Yeah, we're like a filthy bunch.
Yeah.
Almost.
And Gamergate is in the Urban
Oh,
Dictionary.
yes,
So
yes.
you're sharing a space with some of the most vile and destructive and hateful basement dwelling
Groups and
fucking
ideas
white
and-
males on the internet who are on one hand completely irrelevant and not worthy of any attention, while simultaneously being ever present and policing the internet for any women that might dare speak up about anything.
And all powerful.
It's all powerful and insignificant at once. All right.
Yes.
1.1 million pledged HeForShes have made practical commitments, as have some of the world's leading universities and companies, to make gender equality a priority in their work and within their communities. Surprisingly, though, it was during the hard moments that I made the best discoveries about what it means to be part of this movement.
She's an actress, guys. Don't forget that trembling voice shit that she does.
We're gonna like, so she's gonna talk about the backlash.
Okay.
There is genuinely a spectrum of amazing feminists out there who have not only given me invaluable advice, but also broadened my perspective.
A spectrum of feminists. As many feminists as genders, apparently.
And reinforced my belief.
Go ahead. Karen, you're going to say something?
She's not going to talk about the anti-feminists out there, is she?
I don't think she does. You haven't seen this yet, then I take it.
No, I haven't. She's going to talk about how intersectional feminists have essentially given her the gears over not being intersectional enough. Yep. I'm guessing that's what she's gonna talk about.
That we are all linked. We all belong to a long history of people who have made sacrifices, some groups much more than others.
Like men?
Like the Chartists in the UK? Like the fucking Chartists in the UK who between 1830 and 1865 saw their members be shot in the street, die in prison or be exiled to Tasmania in order to actually get a universal suffrage and broad electoral reforms, right? Like those ones, who nobody fucking has ever heard about because the suffragettes came along and hogged all of history's kudos, right? Yeah, like those guys, like those people who laid the groundwork for universal suffrage, giving up their lives, unlike the suffragettes who the only death that could be attributed to their movement was death of one of their own, that is, was a woman who freaking participated in a publicity stunt gone wrong, right? You mean like that? Like those people that history has forgotten?
Yeah, like those people. You know, it's funny when you were talking about how high status a lot of these people are, and they're just kind of like, they have these galas and they go there and it's like, yeah, we're gonna save the planet, you know, and it reminds me of the original suffragettes, who were also really rich, affluent, well, at least middle class on up, white women that were they were basically just bored and they wanted something to do.
Yeah, no, they had lots of time on their hands, and they weren't necessarily going for universal suffrage. A lot of them were just going for suffrage for wealthy white men and women.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It seems like this is a pretty similar. I forgot how to.
Yeah.
I always know how to doge, Neela. Okay, we're gonna doge now.
In order to make indefinably large contributions to our modern lives. We've seen seismic shifts in culture recently. I couldn't believe my eyes when I turned on the TV to see that Bud Light was plunging gender equality and equal pay as part of their current advertising campaign.
And then had to close off their comments on that ad on YouTube because they got so much backlash for it.
Yeah.
Because they lied.
Yeah, because it's bullshit.
They lied.
And it was cringeworthy, and the fact is that more and more people are calling this shit out. If you saw the live stream yesterday for this event, the chat was Ebola. I mean, it was
it was more than our chat here right now.
Oh no! This is nothing. This is nothing. This is like what they had yesterday was like one step short of what your typical like Sargon or Internet Aristocrat chat would look like. I mean, it was just one step below that. And the thing is, most of it was people calling bullshit when they weren't making each other laugh based on what they saw, because what was being said was so fucking vapid. It was just people sucking each other's dicks and licking each other's assholes, or how like progressive they're all being right now, and that's basically most of what it is. And then when
rich people need to feel good about themselves too.
Yeah, and then when they did essentially, you know, try to make points or make arguments or cite data or whatever, most people in the chat and people who I've never seen before, were just in there saying this is you're lying, this is bullshit, you know. Or at least you're stupid because you don't know that you're lying. You know, maybe you bought into this and you're just repeating the shit.
And Amy Schumer has become like nature's warning colors for you are going down the wrong path. She's like the coral snake of comedians right now.
Yeah.
So like it's not a plus to have her on your team. I'm just saying.
Trainwreck wasn't fiction.
No. And she got so butthurt in interviews about calling out, you know, well, your character is a real slut and an idiot, right? No, I'm an empowered woman. What are you trying to say? I'm like, no, you're just a dumb slut, honestly.
That's your whole.
Like, but isn't that the point?
Shtick.
That's the point. Just ride it. Ride the pony. Come on, own it.
Honestly, you know, there is such a thing as an honorable slut. Absolutely, 100%. There is such a thing as an honorable slut.
Yeah, ones who own it and acknowledge it and are like, yeah, I totally am, but this is how I do it. That is not Trainwreck.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I gotta interrupt because there's a little piece of cancer in the chat. And yeah, I'm gonna do this for you, Jade. I will name your name in the stream. Jade Gee thinks that the entire purchase of that property was faked. So apparently I put the property up on Century, because people were, before I said that, you know, I'm not gonna go into the property until we actually own it, right? Because we can't. And people actually found the listing on Century, which was being sold by someone out of not Kelvington but Wadena, who you can actually contact because her name is there, and you could actually contact her. Please don't, because she doesn't deserve this kind of harassment. But you could contact her if you're really, really concerned and ask her if we actually purchased the property. But anyway, the allegation now is I put the property up with her on Century just so I could get the money from the donors to get the property. But I originally owned it. It's like this elaborate. I just wanted to put it out there because I think it's actually
First,
sort
I'll
of
buy the property, then I'll sell the property and then ask people to donate so that I can rebuy the property and then profit.
Excellent. Excellent.
And relative fees for my brilliant scheme. Oh my god.
Okay,
This
hear
isn't
this?
over
Hear this?
elaborate at all.
Jade, I got some more tinfoil for when you run out. Look, there you go.
Okay. Cam, let's move on.
Yeah, please don't, because the woman has to run her own. She's an independent contractor fielding questions from dumbasses from the internet who somehow think that I created I put a house that I had already owned up for sale under somebody else's name in a completely different business name just so I could scam people out of money in order to buy it back is a goddamn fucking idiot. Idiots, don't harass this person.
Yeah, but when we say that Emma Watson and feminists like her have influence over government and the top 1% of corporations and things like that and public policy and media and all of that, we're conspiracy theorists. But somehow this scenario makes perfect sense.
Yes, unbeknownst to all of you who've donated, way back when I bought this location under an assumed name, put it under another business's name, then put it up for sale so I could get the money back to buy it again to use it for Honey Badger. What?
And you did all that while plotting for 30 years to infiltrate the Calgary Expo?
No, not
pretending to be a nerd and all that?
We raised Rachel we nurtured her, we gestated her in an artificial womb, and then we raised her in a sensory deprivation tank on a diet of nothing but hoo-haws or ho-hos or whatever you call them, and Twinkies and anime and manga. Okay. And then we unleashed her on the world. Her real name isn't Rachel. It's actually RU427.
Okay, and okay. Anita releases financial statements. Well, she's a nonprofit; she needs to, but she still hasn't done what she said she would do. But you know what? That's up to her donors. If they want to pay for another round of getting 1/3 of the content that they paid for, that's fine. That's up to them. But the fact that she releases financial statements is meaningless. The point is that she didn't do what she promised to do. She didn't create the content she promised to create. It's as simple as that. I mean, people who put up Kickstarters for certain things and then don't deliver can put out all the financial statements they want. That doesn't make it. I don't really want to call it a scam. I don't know what the hell's going on with Anita. I don't think that aspect is a scam. She did put out some content, so good on her. But the scam is the fucking concept of saying to men that they hate women in order to save a woman from being hated on by men. It's just such snake oil. Anyway, let's get on with this.
Yeah, I was going to say, Illusory Atheist says, can we go back to masturbating over Emma Watson? So,
all right.
There we go. Okay.
Let's go.
I don't even know how to make that noise.
We did it.
You gotta grab your cheek and tug it.
All right.
Yeah, and if you do both cheeks, it's both hands, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
That noise doesn't happen to me.
Like I said, you said, Benny, you class up the place. I agree completely. Okay, here we go.
All right, in an attempt to get back on topic, we still went off topic. All right, let me hit play.
Yeah, I know. I have a train too.
We already have some amazing things happening, some amazing female leaders, but I don't know if I would have believed you if you had told me 2 years ago, before I made my HeForShe speech, that we might have the first female president of the United States.
Well, that was obviously she for me. Ugh.
And she's a fucking nightmare. But she has a vagina, so it's all good. It's all good. There's some dude who made a freaking crappy movie about Islam who's rotting in Gitmo because apparently he's responsible for Benghazi, right? But that's okay because, she has a vagina.
Yep.
Yep.
Vagina.
Yeah. Hillary is definitely needs to be voted because vagina. Because he for she. Now Emma Watson is backing that up, regardless of all the other shit.
I'm with her.
Please don't let me down, America.
Did you notice that the he for she logo resembles Hillary's logo? I don't think that's I don't think that's an accident.
It might be an accident. It might just be a very effective type of style, and so it would be used by several people, sort of for the same purpose. But the "I'm with her" bullshit. Actually, anybody who hasn't watched Trump's RNC acceptance, candidacy acceptance speech, needs to go watch it, because it's actually quite. He is actually quite presidential when he's giving that speech. And there was one thing that he said: she wants everybody to pledge, "I'm with her." I'm here to say, I'm going to pledge that I am with you, the American people, every single one of you.
Clever.
Absolutely brilliant rhetoric on his part for that speech. In fact, I commented several times watching it that his speechwriter deserves $1 million bonus. And then I found out that he actually wrote it himself.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a brilliant speech, and it really highlighted. And there was no crooked Hillary, Lion Ted, low energy Jeb Bush, little Marco Rubio, kind of nasty, bottom of the barrel rhetoric in this speech. It was all very, it was all very. Upstanding, and he just said, my opponent has a motto, and this is her motto: I'm with her, right? And my motto is that I'm with you. And that is what is going to essentially pull people maybe out of this bullshit, is that why would Hillary Clinton be demanding that people stand with her because of vagina, when they have somebody who's offering to stand with them because I have power and you don't, and so I'm going to be for you, right? Very, very, very subtle, beautiful rhetoric, but it just like Hillary is just horrible on so many levels, so many fucking levels, so many reasons why people should not vote for her, in terms of her track record, in terms of her policies, in terms of her health, in terms of her history of domestic violence against her husband, in terms of all kinds of things, right? That should be giving people pause. And yet, because she has a vagina, here's Emma Watson saying, "Don't fail me, America. Elect Hillary because vagina." That's it. That's all she has going for her.
Yeah. All right, let's continue before Allison responds to the person in the chat again.
A female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and possibly, for the first time in history, a female UN Secretary General.
I didn't know the UN was so not progressive. I thought that was their whole. I thought that was their whole thing. Was that they were just like this.
I didn't know that there has never been or that it's somehow special that a female would be Prime Minister of the UK. Especially since the current female Prime Minister of the UK is a carbon copy of the female Prime Minister, the one female Prime Minister of Canada. The role got dumped on her because a sitting male Prime Minister stepped down. And she was the second in command, right? Campbell in Canada. Yes. And her tenure was very, very brief, because she was a fucking moron.
Oh, the infamous campaign bus. Oh my god, I still remember that. Jesus Christ, what an embarrassment.
It was awful. And yet somehow, I don't think Emma Watson, when she's talking about a female Prime Minister of Britain, right, is talking about Margaret Thatcher. I really don't think that that's who she's talking about. She's talking about Theresa May, not Margaret Thatcher, who fucking worked her way up as the daughter of a grocer who owned 2 grocery stores, not necessarily impoverished, but certainly not among the 1%ers out there, worked her way up through politics from local to regional to federal, right? Achieved the leadership of her party on merit and was duly elected by the majority of the British people, right? Who earned her fucking place, didn't have it handed to her because somebody stepped down, right? And yet somehow she's all about Theresa May and Margaret Thatcher. Oh yeah, no, we just conveniently will forget that she existed, even though she was one of the most freaking long-tenured prime ministers in British history.
Yep.
Yeah, but she didn't actually exist because
she's not. She's not a good feminist.
She's not. She said feminism was poison.
Yeah. So, along with that there's a woman in Parliament that was at a recently. Well, maybe it was like a year ago. She was in a debate. Maybe it was Oxford debates. And
Jess Phillips?
Yeah, I think so. And she
no.
Well, it was a woman who made a good case against feminism also, that she basically succeeded despite all that, and also probably a non-person now. Because if you're a woman and you don't identify as feminist, you're you're thrown into the, like, I don't even know if it's below men or just
you're a non-woman. You're exactly right. You're a non-woman.
You're a non-woman.
You are a woman who is sold out to the old boys club. You cannot be a woman and go against this rhetoric. You become defeminized somehow, right? Like you're not a real woman, because a real woman would never go against her sisters. That's 3 snaps.
That is 3 snaps. I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Or perhaps I
you saw it?
That.
That's amazing.
I can see sound.
Synesthesia, yo.
Yes.
Woo woo.
Let's do this.
While women still only make up such a small percentage of political leadership.
Because they don't want to.
Exactly. Because it's hard.
Or because any system where more men than women are in positions of political leadership is necessarily unjust to women and will obviously ignore their needs, their wishes, their voices, their well-being. It will completely not pay any attention to that, as this HeForShe gala and her support from the UN and governments and corporations across the globe has clearly shown. When men occupy greater than 50% of positions of power, women are ignored, right? That's how that works. That's how that fucking works. Meanwhile, right, 4 years ago, Warren Farrell proposed, he put on Obama's desk a proposal for a White House Council on Men and Boys. It was on the agenda. They had flown a Boy Scout and his troop leader out to present it to Obama in front of news cameras, right? And then, oh my goodness, it just got erased from the agenda and it's been tabled ever since, right? It's fallen down the fucking memory hole, right? Because men in power will ignore women and privilege men and boys, right? And they will not do one damn thing for women other than, holding these freaking $1 million gala events where wealthy freaking privileged women can talk about how the world is just so hard on women and nobody pays attention to their problems.
Yep.
Because more than 50% of the people in power are men. And therefore, that means that women are ignored and marginalized and dismissed, and their concerns aren't paid attention to, and their voices aren't heard.
Isn't even consistent with what we know about human psychology. What we know about human psychology is that when people assume a position of overt agency, in fact, they lose sympathy. And if there's a group of people who are expected to assume a position of power, they lose overall sympathy in society, and they are actually expected to use that power to benefit those who are not seen to be in power. And there's ways, like when you have a situation of true oppression, we have to actually get around that mechanism, that human psychology, by presenting the groups that we are oppressing as actually being more powerful than ourselves. So thus all the rhetoric in Nazi Germany around the Jewish cabal that secretly controls the whole world. Or in Jim Crow South, the rhetoric around if black people ever got their freedom, they would control everything. Like they would subjugate white people. That's how they justified these oppressive acts, is because they saw the people that they were oppressing as being far more powerful than themselves, even as they put them in a subjugated position. And we have to do that, because when we actually perceive a group as being powerful, we lose sympathy for them. And we don't see like that they should be served first. We think the people who don't have power, who we perceive not to have power, we perceive to be weak or victimized, we want them to be served first. So we have to do a lot of work, if we do want to subjugate a group of people, to make them seem more powerful than ourselves, to talk about their privilege, to talk about their secret conspiracies to keep us down, to talk about how they control the world of finance or politics or whatever. We have to do that in order to take away the natural protections that we grant people we see as harmed and damaged. We're a social species, and that's one reason why we became so super social, is because when we perceive those people to have issues or those people to have weaknesses or vulnerabilities, we want to help them. We don't want to, I don't know, other species, I guess, would kill and eat them. That's what makes us human. Is that when we perceive a group of people to have vulnerabilities, we want to help them. Mm-hmm. And so this is like completely incompatible with human psychology.
Yes.
It's just, it doesn't even make sense.
But it kind of splits off. I agree with you, Allison, but it also kind of splits off, because I've noticed a distinction between there are people who genuinely want to do good, and then there are people who simply want to be perceived as doing good. And in observation, you can divide this down any of the lines that you see put in the sand on different YouTube factions. Do you want to virtue signal, or do you want to change things? Are you attacking the person? Are you attacking the argument? And I think we need to focus, we being those of us who actually want to do some good, you know, those of us who have a smidge of altruism somewhere in our black hearts. We have to focus on not caring about being perceived as good, but simply making actual change. And they are completely not the same thing. You can appear to be a great person and be a total shitfuck.
Well, you'll also notice that those people who seem to be most interested in virtue signaling also embrace this kind of very, very black and white victimization thinking that's incompatible with human psychology and nuance. So I just, you know, it's like I think that the two are very, very common.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right.
All right, moving on.
Give me more Emma.
Because of these women, girls and boys all over the world will have real-life examples that women are leaders. In the last 2 years, if I have learned anything, if they have shown me anything, it is that nothing is impossible. And that's why tonight, as well as saying thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you have done, I ask you to recommit yourself to be a part of gender equality.
All right, I want to, this reminds me so much of, have you seen The Labyrinth?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That speech by the female character to I forget, Jennifer?
The
No,
Goblin King, I mean?
The Goblin King.
Yeah.
And the Goblin King is saying, just let me rule you, and I'll give you everything you want. Anything is possible as long as you say that women are victimized by society. As long as you let the top 1% rule you, anything is possible. They will be your slave, women. As long as you admit that they rule you. And it's like, and the way that she got out of it by saying, you have no power over me. And the thing is that I honestly believe, and I said this in Well-Behaved Women Don't Make History, the real purpose of all of this is to convince women that they are victims of society, so that they don't realize that they are actually, in many ways, the ones who found it. And I can go into the details of that, but I think it's all about stripping away women's true power by telling them that they are victims of society. But, you know, if you admit that you're a victim of society, the top 1% who rely on you to maintain the social order as it is will be your slaves. It's just like that. And I, you know, and it's creepy. It's like mental colonization of women. But, you know, you'll get caviar and $5 million galas just as long as you tell them that they rule you.
Yeah, no, but it's also the mental colonization of men, you know, in terms of convincing them that they are more powerful than they are, they have more agency than they do, and feeding them these kind of ideas that that lead them to feel better about themselves. Who doesn't want to feel empowered? Who doesn't want to feel like they have agency in terms of, you know, like a guy, right? In terms of the masculine gender role. And so you end up with people like Cenk, who essentially told me that, you know, of course, no man back in the early 1900s would have ever given women the vote if suffragettes hadn't been, you know, engaged in domestic terrorism and all kinds of other stuff. Yeah, no, except for me. I would have been the one guy who did it because I am the one good man. I'm the one strong man. I am the one virtuous man. I am the one man who would have done it, right? Unlike every other man on the face of the planet all through history.
He's
right?
a bufficorn?
He's which?
He's a bufficorn?
I guess.
You know, like a buffalo unicorn? A bufficorn.
Yeah, okay.
You know? But yeah.
Trying to have a discussion.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where that outburst came from. I think is that he sees himself as this sort of the one virtuous man, and essentially, like, it appeals to men in certain ways too. It triggers their sort of programmed responses to stimuli in certain ways that it also does with women.
Victimhood, female victimhood.
Yeah, and the idea that there is such a thing as a virtuous man, and that the virtuous man stands alone, and all other men are, you know, it really is like that contrast between. And I used those two images. Thank you very much for Allison for putting up that one video ages ago that showed Obama signing the Lilly Ledbetter Act, and then juxtaposed it against the picture of the sea lion basking in the glow of admiration of his female harem, right? And essentially comparing and contrasting these, like, look at the smug look on this guy's face, right? It's the exact same smug look. He's surrounded by adoring females, right? That's how a lot of this works. He's an alpha male surrounded by adoring females who has just thrown men collectively under the bus, right, in order to impress women. That's what he is, right? He's no different in that regard from that sea lion.
Or the Goblin King saying, just tell me I rule you. Just let me rule you and I'll be your slave.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's this fiction of women's victimhood and women's subjugation in order to maintain the dominance of men. It's ironic, but I think it's like almost an unconscious dynamic that we've gotten into. In fact, this whole he for she is just a projection of this dynamic.
Yes.
And the irony is that they think they're going to change a damn thing. No, they're not. You guys, Emma Watson, you are the handmaidens of the small p patriarchy.
You know what's revolutionary? You know what's really revolutionary? It's those Afghan women that I read about 3 years ago or something in an article, who were berating the West and the NGOs and the UN and the forces who had come, Canadians, Americans, all of those, who had decided that the way to deal with Afghanistan was to only help women and girls, right? Only liberate women and girls, only educate women and girls. And these Afghan women, these revolutionary Afghan women said, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you determined to see our men and our boys sicken and wither and die, from neglect, and leave the entire job of rebuilding our country to the women and girls? Is this what you want for the women of Afghanistan?
Or even the men, eh?
Well,
I think they were offended even
if all they care about is women. Even if these Afghan women, and I think that they did realize that the only people that the West cares about in Afghanistan are women. Even if that's your sole concern, how is that concern being served by essentially putting the entire onus, neglecting boys and men to the degree that the entire onus of rebuilding an entire society will fall on women and girls? How does that serve women and girls?
Yeah, well, I mean, how does it serve women and girls to adopt? And this is the thing is that they, in order to get this help, they have to adopt a certain attitude about their own power in society. They have to do the Faustian bargain with the Goblin King. Let me, I will be your, I will let you rule me, or perceive to rule me. I will perceive that society, I am a victim of society, and then I will get all of these boons. When in fact, if they were aware, and in a lot of cases I think they are, that they are the ones who's found a lot. Women control how we perceive gender in a lot of ways, and it's like women found societies. They are like
Susan B. Anthony in 1849 at a temperance dinner said that women were the moral arbiters of society. They are the ones who set the standards in terms of what is considered to be polite, what is considered to be not okay, what is considered to be acceptable public behavior, what is considered to be vulgarity, right, and not acceptable. And that if every woman decided, right, and acted on this decision, that they would never tolerate a man in their company who had been drinking, right, men would stop drinking. If women wanted to flex that muscle, men would fall in line. She knew that. She said it. She came right out and fucking said it. And this is absolutely 100% the power that women have. Warren Farrell has said that if women tomorrow collectively decided that the most sexually attractive thing about men was their ability to walk on their hands, what would you see? You would see nothing but lessons, gyms, freaking programs, right? Teaching men how to walk on their fucking hands.
Yep.
And I would say it even goes deeper than that, because I know I've used this analogy. I don't know if the same people who watch my solo videos are the same people who watch these streams, but if you look into the history of Rome, and even if the Sabine women is apocryphal, is that how you say the word, Karen? Apocryphal?
Apocryphal.
Yeah. Apocryphal. It is still the story that Roman women told themselves about themselves, and it's a story of two groups of men fighting over the sexual honor of the Sabine women, and the Sabine women rushing the battlefield and saying, "Kill us. If we are the source of the conflict, then kill us. Don't kill each other." And that moment of compassion from their men created the possibility of a greater identity, including both tribes of men. And that was foundation. That concept of tribes of men coming together in cooperation was foundational to Rome. And it was created by that act of compassion by women. And then you have HeForShe in the UN teaching women all around the globe.
It wasn't just created by the compassion of women. It was also created by the reality that those men saw that if they cooperated rather than were in conflict, they could better serve their women.
Well, yeah, no doubt. But what I'm saying is that it's that power for women to actually found new forms of government, because when you withdraw the competition between men, those two tribes of men had to figure out a way of cooperating together for the most effective way possible. They had to figure out how to live with each other, and out of that came a lot of the laws of Rome. Of course, they also borrowed from republics and all that. But anyway, that one of the revolutions about Rome was that idea that you could be Roman by law but not by birth. And so you see that whole new way of men cooperating, which is a whole new empire. And that was created or at least founded in many ways by the act of reducing the competition between men and leaving the necessity of cooperation. When you get rid of the competition, when women say, no, I won't be competed over by that in that way. And in fact, if you want to compete over me in this kind of way, then you should just, kill me instead. When they said that, then when they got rid of the competition between men, it necessitated a cooperation. That in of itself created a whole new system of laws, of infrastructure, a whole new way of looking at land that we still live under today. That's unbelievable fucking power. And they're going out in the world, the 1% that sort of relies on everything staying exactly the same to maintain their power, is going out in the world and telling women a lie about their being victims of society. Isn't that interesting? That the 1% that relies on everything remaining exactly the same, away through a lie, women's power of revolution or evolution, whatever you want to call it. I'm just putting it out there.
Women's social power, their soft power.
And to get to that, to go back a little bit. Sorry, my phone is ringing.
Oh.
To go back a little bit, I didn't want to interrupt the epic ranting because that's part of why people tune into this. But to go back to what Karen was saying about the moral arbiters, this is the withering whinge pit of women are moral arbiters, and we remember things, and we're emotional, and we feel things, and we remember birthdays. And then you get into emotional labor of how come we have to remember birthdays? How come we have to do all the childcare? But I'm perfectly happy to have the tender years saying I should do all the childcare because I'm just better suited. Both sides of the coin, and I'm really glad that on a more widespread scale, people are starting to go, hey, wait a minute, you can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm better at this and then complain about being better at it. You can't do that. But as for women, I mean, objectively speaking, as for women being moral arbiters of anything, I beg to disagree.
It's not necessarily that they use it for the right reasons.
No. It's necessarily that they're more moral.
It's not. It's like you can
have the moral power.
Exactly.
Just because men have more physical force doesn't mean that.
Oh no,
not
I agree with the premise. I don't disagree with what you're analyzing. We're doing the use mention thing, right? But I disagree with any assumption that women are fundamentally more moral. No. Do not go down that path, and any of the listeners.
Absolutely not. Actually, I think that women are more mercenary than men are, in a lot of ways. So, yeah, more solipsistic, more mercenary, more what's in it for me, more what have you done for me lately. Have you ever heard a man use that phrase? What have you done for? Yeah, but what have you done for me lately?
Not as often as I think they should. I actually think guys should be more like that.
Yes, and I think women should be less like that. But that was a Jackson song. What have you done for me lately?
And from an Eddie Murphy.
Ooh,
it's true.
Yeah.
And from an Eddie Murphy skit. From those of you who are old enough to remember.
Delirious.
Eddie, what have you done for me lately?
Oh, wait, no, that might be wrong.
Eddie, I want half.
Exactly, I want half.
Eddie. She said it like that. Eddie.
It's true. I remember.
Want half, Eddie. Mr. Fuck You Man. Okay, so let's continue.
That's just Briffel's law, right? And okay, so even if we have to even if this is a biological thing, even if this is a biological impulse, Briffel's law, right, which is that the female determines the conditions of the animal family. And where a female sees no benefit in continuing association with the male, no such association will continue or will exist. And that some things that you have done prior have no bearing. So if you essentially you have lots of money and you blow your entire fucking wad buying her and her sick mother a house, and then you have nothing more to give her next week, right? Then what have you done for me lately, right? Comes out. Okay, even if that's a biological thing, right? There are ways that we can structure our institutions in order to circumvent or work around or compensate for that, right? But when you unleash that and give it completely free reign, that's when you have this sort of, one woman with 3 kids by 3 baby daddies who's living entirely on child support. I have a sister who, if she has 2 children by 2 different fathers, and if it were not for the child support that she's collecting, she would not be able to make ends meet. She would not be able to do live the way she does, and she has no compunction in terms of collecting that. She doesn't feel one shred of guilt, despite the fact that one of these dads is extremely active in both of her children's lives, and he provides a lot of non-monetary benefit, right, that I think should offset the money that he has to pay for her to her for his son. And it's just like, part of me is just like, okay, I'm just like, you don't have to actually negotiate an equitable deal with this guy, right? The government is extracting this shit from him and giving it to you, right? You don't have to, yes you do, you give him generous access whenever he wants it and all of this stuff, right? You do that, and that makes me happy. That makes me happy considering what you could do, right? But you wouldn't have to do it, right? The government would extract that whether you allowed him to see his kid or not, right? Whether you allowed him any role whatsoever in his kid's life or not, the government would extract that money on your behalf and hand it to you, no questions asked, and feel completely justified in doing it. And they would not do one fucking thing to enforce his access or his rights, right? They would not do one fucking thing. And this is the situation now, right? Where women don't have to treat men fairly. They don't have to. The government, the 1%, is willing to step in and rob Peter to pay Paula, right? They're willing to take the entire gazelle, right, and hand women a handful of mangoes. That's what they are willing to do.
Okay, I just want to point something out, and this is something that it's actually topical to the situation. I've been, like, feminists, when they're insulting me, and even today in the chat for this show, there was a feminist who was saying, "Oh yeah, you just need money to feed your husband." It's like, yeah, he has a disability. He suffers from chronic pain, and he's limited in how much he can do in a day. And so, in part, I have to support him, although he does a hell of a lot of work to make Honey Badger Radio happen. I mean, he's looking into building the steps that need to be built for the Badger Cave. And he's going to be doing other stuff for the Badger Cave, probably, arranging for electrical work and doing whatever small jobs that need to be done to bring it up to a point where it's livable. I mean, it's mainly livable now, but there are things that need to be done that for safety and security. And the fact that they'll go after me because I support a man who has a disability, and I know this happens to other women who are in a similar situation. They get gone after by women who tell them that they're being taken advantage of, who judge them, who treat them like they're idiots, or somehow I'm exploiting men by being in this situation. And I've been honest about it. Like, I am the main breadwinner for my household. And
look at Mitt. Was it Mitt Romney who? No, it wasn't. It was. Oh fuck! Who was it? He left his wife when she had cancer.
I know what you mean. Oh, and the mistress and the. Oh no.
And he. Lambasted. He was just ripped to shreds over that. Right, abandoning your wife when she's disabled, when she's going through how could you do that? And okay, I have a fiance who has arguably a disability. It's under control now, but prior to when we had a tentative sort of kind of maybe-ish diagnosis of, you know, it's one of this spectrum of disorders, right, and put him on medication, he was going into anaphylaxis 2 to 3 times a week, right? This is extremely, given his field, you know, you don't want to be going into a meeting with the top executives at some freaking, I don't know, oil company or some shit going, you know, I'm your man, I'm the guy who can solve your problems, because your tongue is swollen to 3 times its normal size, right?
Well, yeah, but he also have the problem that, you know, if it gets any worse, he has to be rushed to the emergency room.
It's also really hard on your immune system over time. It's not a good thing. Any kind of chronic repeated inflammation, you'll pay for it, you know, 10 years down the line.
Yeah. So, you know, and so I was perfectly prepared, right, to essentially have, you know, partner with a man who was going to be on a disability pension. We looked up disability pensions. We were ready to apply to one. Then we found a hematologist who actually sort of knew what she was doing after seeing, I don't know, a dozen specialists over a year and a half who had, I don't know what's wrong with you, and that was that, right? And she put him on a drug that seems to work. They are not sure why, but it seems to work for this particular, you know, sort of cluster of disorders, right? And now he's functional and he works and he makes good money. Right, but I would have been that woman who was essentially the primary breadwinner in my household. He would have been on a disability pension, and that would have been that. And I'm sure I would have gotten a lot of flack from not just, you know, random feminist women who are like, you're being taken advantage of.
No. They think that I'm taking advantage of the people who and it's the funny thing is that we don't.
Your husband can't buy you this office space.
Yeah, because and here's the thing. Here's what's funny about it. We're taking advantage. We give the content for free, and believe me, this does take a lot of work to create. Even if it is live streams, getting the guests, getting it all together. And also just the administrative stuff in the background that I do with the other stuff that we do, projects that I don't talk about on because they haven't come to fruition yet. But it's like, this is work, and we give it away for free, and we bank up goodwill, and when we have a project, we say, hey, can you help us with this project voluntarily? And they're saying that's exploitation because I'm turning around and I'm supporting people that I took a responsibility to support.
Yeah.
Ugh. And the feminists are doing this, and then they call themselves progressive.
I know, they call themselves, like, for equality and stuff, right? And for, you know, sticking up for the little guy, the marginalized person, the disabled, you know, they're intersectional, right? So you know, so your husband deserves to be kicked to the curb because he has a disability that impacts his life and his ability to earn income. And therefore, you should not have to take any responsibility.
You can't win, because if he did make good money, then I would be exploiting him because I'm with him because he has money, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't, and I'm doing a business and I'm trying to get it off the ground, get the things that it needs to work, then I'm exploiting them. It's just like you can't win with this shit. You know what? Fuck it. Let's get on with Emma.
Okay, Emma.
Yeah, we've got 45 seconds of molestation. Let's do it.
I genuinely feel that we are closer to a gender-equal world, and certainly closer than we were 2 years ago, and I know that each and every HeForShe has played such a huge part in that.
She's calling them HeForShes. She's not, you know...
Not human beings, just HeForShes, just doings.
Yeah, you get like a patch. You get to put it on your uniform on the side. It's basically this symbol. They'll have one on a flag. It'll be red and white and black, and
not even
there's initiation
pledge or every single HeForShe member, right? Or every single person who supports HeForShe. Just every single HeForShe. It really reminds me of the vaginas in the house.
Oh God!
I can't wait for her to say. But we have a long way to go, because that's coming.
I just want to say one thing. I'm sorry, it's harkening back to the previous conversation. I couldn't have done Honey Badger Radio without my husband, with Jonathan. Like, I couldn't have done it without him. So it's not like I don't think consider it a situation of charity. Like, I don't think
I agree. Like, I wouldn't have gotten back into all of this stuff without Mike and my fiance, and I would not have been able to pursue it to the degree that I have without his support, his constant support. And he's constantly vacillating between pride in what I do and resentment that it takes me away from him when I have to go on trips and stuff like that. But he's willing to, he's willing to put up with the fact that often I'm away from home and not there to, because he's one of those affectionate, super, like, he just likes being around me. I don't bore him. I excite him. I invigorate him, all of those things. Right. And so he prefers when I'm around, and yet he's willing to tolerate with not much complaint when I have to go away for these things. And, if I didn't have him here supporting me, being proud of me, financially contributing in terms of paying a lot of the bills, paying more than his share, I think, at this point, of the bills and all of that, if I didn't have that, right, I wouldn't be able to do this to any significant degree, right? So it's just, I owe him, like, he and I are in this together. We're a partnership. We're a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But and I don't know, this is I don't know what this is. Anyway, let's almost done. Okay. I can hear it in your voice, Brian.
No, I'm just saying we're close, and I'm not trying to talk too loud. My mic somebody was saying it was too low, and I thought, oh, maybe it's too far away, and I moved it closer, and then I wasn't talking at the time, but I thought I messed around with the gain a little bit, and then I talked again, and it was like people's ears were exploding. So I'm trying to find that Goldilocks just right, So, all right.
It may be impossible.
Yeah, it may be impossible.
I am proud to have been part of lots of amazing things in my life, but there is nothing that I am prouder of than being part of this. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Okay, stop it. We don't need to. Oh my God, this is the underdog here. This is the underdog movement.
She's the one who's like actually turning society on its head and challenging its ideas and beliefs. Yep.
Because God knows, whenever there was a really, really unique new idea about society, it was embraced by open arms by the 1% on the top.
Yeah. It was sponsored by the 1% at.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And then fed to the grassroots. By spoon.
No, it never was a situation where the people who were actually creating an innovative idea or concept or structure, they were persecuted. They didn't receive.
It's not like the gay rights people had to actually overcome like a whole bunch of structural, institutional, social, psychological freaking barriers to get any kind of justice for the gay and lesbian and trans and queer community. Yeah, no. And bisexual community. No. Yeah, they didn't have to actually change hearts and minds, starting with their own families, okay, and expanding outward from there to the point where the establishment finally had to concede that public sentiment had changed to the degree that they had to actually, be fair.
Do something, yeah, be fair. No. The moment, like 1-2 years after the gay rights movement started, 2 years after what was it? Oh God damn, the name is just on the tip of my tongue.
Well, and 2 years, and it wasn't just 2 years. It was like 2 years after the gay rights movement were invited to the UN, okay, to
Stonewall riots.
Okay, yeah. 2 years after that, all of their problems were solved.
Yep, 2 years after the Stonewall riots in 1971, the gay rights movement was invited to speak at the UN, and all of the billionaire, and politicians and they were all just cheering the fuck out of them. Right. You know what, Anita, Emma, your movement isn't a movement. It's not even, it's a commercial. It's a commercial for the status quo. It's basically a bunch of rich people patting themselves on the back that they're not, that they're doing anything at all except being rich.
Which brings me to my point, because I agree completely. My big thing that stands out when I watch Emma Watson is she speaks about female leadership. She speaks about setting role models and examples for women. And yet when she speaks, she is not representing a position of leadership. She is not representing a point of conviction or strength. It's constantly deflecting to other people. It is ingratiating. It is pleading. It is playing on heartstrings and sympathy. There is no argumentation. There is no leadership. She herself is not representing qualities of a leader. And yet we wonder why there are so few female political leaders.
What is she risking? What is she risking all
She's
this?
asking and begging, and her hands are in her lap, and she's meek, and she's got the big eyes going, I'm so grateful for the support, and I'm so blessed to be here.
Let me rule you.
Her idea.
Yeah.
None of this was her idea. Do you remember her initial speech? HeForShe, her initial speech.
Yes, I do. She's a puppet. She is a puppet in a very nice tailored suit.
She was asked by the establishment to be the spokesperson for HeForShe for UN Women. She was asked by them. They reached out to her and said, would you like to do this? She's not risking anything. She's taking a job that was offered to her.
Yeah, because fundamentally, I mean, a lot of people, say that I also do the appeal to sympathy, especially because I cried in that one video after we were booted from Calgary Expo.
Yeah, I know, because you didn't have any reason to be upset or anything over that. Yeah, anybody who fucking is gonna get on Allison's case over that can lick my fucking butthole. Lick it good. I'll take a shit and you can lick it again.
Damn, girl.
Okay, all right.
Shit just got real.
That's racist. Shit, indeed.
That's like
got
unwashed salad tossing.
Okay. Be that as it may.
I'll run a train on myself. You can lick it again. Lots of but
okay, all right. Can we?
I'm taking I'm taking erythromycin preventatively just for hearing you say that, Karen.
Okay,
just saying. Okay.
Let's the butt licking. I did have a point. I mean, I do get criticism. Fair enough. I get criticism for appealing to sympathy. I'm not exactly sure if I appealed to sympathy because I said specifically, this nasty thing happened to me. Can you help me fight back? And you guys put a sword in my hand, but I still had to be the one fighting back and taking the risks. And ultimately, I think that's the big difference. Emma Watson doesn't take any risks. Anita Sarkeesian doesn't take a damn risk.
And I really, really hate this criticism of you, Allison, because that was actually the first video I ever saw of you. And it just came across my feed, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And I'm watching it, and I am, like, legendarily nonplussed by female tears. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck do you want now? But I'm watching you, and I'm like, and of course, I'm looking for tells, right? So I'm looking for, like, your pupillary dilation. I'm looking for the flushing of your cheeks. I'm looking for, are you puffy, and because that's how I think, right? But I'm looking at you, and I'm listening to your voice, and I'm looking at your face, and I'm like, holy shit, she's really fucking crying. I better pay attention because she's upset. Damn. And that is how I became introduced to you and Karen and Hannah and everybody. So thank fucking God you made that video. Because if you had not made this impassioned video that got so much attention, although I'm sure it was hard for you to make because your heart wasn't on your fucking sleeve. Your heart was in the middle of your fucking forehead. But that is what brought me, anyway, to you. And I know others as well. So
yeah, I appreciate it. It's just I wish it had been a different video, but
it couldn't have been a different video and still have been authentic because there are shitlords like me that are constantly looking for how are we being shilled, how are we being fooled, how are we being tricked, and so that video, as horrible as it was, is necessary for people like me to go, I guess this is serious. So maybe I should start paying fucking attention.
Yeah, well, I guess if that's what it takes, if my tears are what it takes for men's issues to get on the table, then fucking take them all.
Well, all I have to say is that, like, I know somebody who's extremely high up in policy decisions at the federal level in Canada, and she has said that it really doesn't matter how you present the issues that I talk about. You cannot even broach the topic without risking your career, right? You just can't, right? And that there's this, she said that there was like sort of a cascade effect in terms of the push. Right now in the military, there's the push for, you know, to clean up the sexual harassment and sexual assault. There's a push in the normal criminal justice system to, you know, make it easier to convict rapists or convict men accused of rape, and all of those things. And any suggestion that something might not be the best idea because it might have consequences down the line, even not even that it's unjust now, but that it might lead to injustice in the future, right, is going to be met with knee-jerk opposition and all kinds of penalties to your career, right? There's no way to even discuss the issues at the upper echelons, in the upper levels of government and the civil service and all of those things, right? So
what's going to happen is that the pressure will build up from the grassroots up, and then the magma, the butt plug that is government, will just blow.
Well, what may happen, and John the Other has predicted this, right? And he said, well, you know, I'll sit back and laugh while civilization burns, right? And, you know, that may actually be the tipping point, will be when there is some kind of actual violent uprising. And, you know, the mere act of suggesting, right, that this is a potential outcome, right, that I'm not advocating for it, nobody's advocating for a violent uprising, right, okay, but if you continue to ignore the needs and well-being of men, if you continue to completely erase any legitimate avenue for them to seek any kind of redress of grievance or harm, right? If you continue to institutionally and structurally and legally persecute them and increase the scope of that persecution, right? What you are courting is a whole bunch of mostly blue pill men, right? Because these are the guys who email me and they say, I was well on my way to hating women until I stumbled on your videos, and now I understand what's going on and I'm not so angry anymore, right? But a lot of blue pill men, a lot of men who things are happening to them and they have no idea why, right? It's just, they know it's an injustice, they know they're being persecuted, and they have no idea why. There's no rhyme or reason behind it that they can determine, right? They did everything right and they're still being persecuted by the system, right? You get enough of those guys. Aaron Pizzi has said this. It's a testament to the patience and tolerance of masculinity that men have not been exploding violently all over the place, right? In terms of what our society looks like now, in terms of how it treats men. And just merely predicting that if we continue on the path that we're going on, certain people who are not informed like I am, who do not understand the scope and the depth and the complexity of what's going on, right, will actually respond in a reflexive way, and that reflex may well be violence, okay? Merely stating that is interpreted as advocating violence and accepting violence, tolerating violence, endorsing violence, right? I'm a terrorist for predicting that kicking a dog enough times is going to get you bitten.
Mm-hmm. I know, and this is not a solution. what this he for she is probably just trying to. I don't know. It feels like they're just trying to extend the maybe
it's patriarchy 2.0.
Well, yeah, and it's trying to extend the same structure. It's like instead of upgrading the bus, you're just living with the fact, the 8-bit bus. You just live with it. You just write more crappy code. But it's instead of upgrading the infrastructure, the infrastructure is what we need to upgrade. And I mean, even if we take it out of the moralizing language, I'm getting tired of these particular problems. I think they're done. Let's move on to the next set. Let's do something more fun. Let's explore our full potential as human beings, or maybe not our full potential, maybe our 3/4 potential as human beings.
Or let's at least hear something new.
Yeah, let's hear new, something less fucking boring.
How many fucking decades have we been subjected to Earth vaporized by aliens, women most affected?
Or how many generations have we been subjected? How many fucking millennia have we been subjected to he for she? Let's get something different on the stage.
And honestly, like when during the Q&A in Ottawa, I was asked, I was asked a question and I responded I mentioned and I said essentially that a patriarchy is based on women and children first. Right, in the lifeboats. And a matriarchy will be based on women, children, and women's luggage first in the lifeboats.
Oh, I thought that was a glitch. I was freaking out.
It was like a remix. I was about to go, wicka, wicka, wicka.
Hello?
Right.
What was that? I think it was a glitch.
Allison?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I think that, I mean, if you look at moral typecasting, if you had a genuine matriarchy in which women occupied the moral sphere of agent, but you'd probably have to have a very different biology. I think that it would look a little bit different. But yeah, be that as what is may. The point is taken. Anyway, sorry. Brian, go ahead.
That's fine. Are we
Yeah,
wrapping it up?
I don't think we have time to...
No. To do Justin Trudeau? No, that'll take even longer. But let's do Trudeau's bit next time. We'll
have a next time.
We'll have a next time, I think.
The Ermagerdzerker. I mean, we can't just have one.
No.
Ermagerdzerker. How many fucking... I don't even know what these show types mean anymore.
Well, they all just mean what the ever-loving fuck, don't they?
Yeah, they all just mean what the... And
people tune in anyway.
You gotta roll with the Zen, to name a thing is to lose that thing. So it is the thing.
It is the thing that gets you to the thing. Okay,
exactly. We did a thing.
A thing itself.
Or the thing of itself. But to be honest, the final conclusion of all of this is, Emma Watson, your movement is boring, and you are boring, and...
you're the establishment.
And you're the establishment. If you weren't the establishment, you would be us clawing what we can get.
Emma said that she spoke to
out of mostly struggling men.
Emma said that she spoke to a spectrum of feminists. I wonder if she spoke to any TERFs or radfems or Tumblrites or Anita Sarkeesian con artist types or anything like that. Or professional victims. And if she did, I wonder if she had thoughts on them too, or if those people are not true feminists, Scotsmen, feminists, I don't know, whatever it is. Just throwing it out there, I imagine that she didn't speak to those people and did not include them as part of the, how we put it, the camera-friendly feminists. Let's put it that way. She didn't speak to Lori Pennies or...
Kathy Brennan.
Yeah, or Lacey Greens, or Francesca Ramsey's, or any of those other really messed up ones.
Yeah, no, she probably spoke to the ones that aren't insane, or at least, clean up well for the camera, as it were. But it's like, somebody was saying, I'm actually confused by the show titles. I know, like, when we put out the, whatever the hell thing, the Ermagerdzerker, Ermagerdzerker YOLO swag 42.69. I think like 10 people. We lost about a couple dozen subscribers. They're like, "What the fuck is this? Unsubscribe!"
Oh my god.
Did we lose people over that?
Yeah, we did lose people over that. It's like, and that's the problem. Like, I have a YouTube channel, but I also have a deep desire to troll the fuck out of people. So it seems to be somewhat incompatible to the gaining subscribers by the bucketful.
You and my son would get along, my youngest.
But it's just so satisfying. It's like, oh, I don't want to piss off the subscriber. But yes, I do. I want to piss you all off.
I raised a certified troll.
Yeah, I know. I try to keep it under wraps, though. Although it's funny, because sometimes it backfires on me. Because, like PH7, I talked about this. You can end this at any time, Brian. I'm just going to yap. But PH7 Oslo was like, the last thing before he donated to the fundraiser is, well, fuck you, too. To me, that's what he said. And then he donated. And I'm like,